The ship wouldn't go anywhere without a stoker. He's the most important bloke on the ship. Just that Australia had never had an aircraft carrier before.
First Australian aircraft carrier.
The first Australian aircraft carrier. They had all destroyers and they had all the other ships, but not an aircraft carrier. It was just a show off. We did the same. We went all right around Australia as well.
Did it draw a lot of attention?
Oh yeah. There was open for inspection. There was queues. Well, thousands of people in the queues would go over, on a weekend and things like that. Our main base was Sasebo. There was another carrier there, the English carrier, a Glory. Exactly, it was a sister ship to the Sydney. We used to do fortnightly cruises out to Korea. They were flying, bombing and helping the troops, bombing bridges and all that sort of business. And we had a few planes shot down and lost about 3 or 4 pilots. One of our planes was shot down. Other helicopters went in and rescued the pilot. The Korean, they didn't have a navy or anything like that, so we didn't have to have ships, worried about ships. And all they were doing was helping the army, with their fighting and things like that. It wasn't sort of a war that involved us, except that flying off. And it's not like we're in the Atlantic, where you're in action stations all the time, but it was just another day sort of thing. We just came back from Korea and tied up at the wharf in Japan and that. We were only there for a few hours, I think, and then they told us to get out to sea. All ships, it is safer to go to sea than get washed up. It could break you away, and you could wreck the ship in port. So it's everybody had to go out to sea, and we were out there for 3 or 4 days. And the ship was rolling around, and there was a lot of the planes that was on that had come back. They were still tied down. All planes, when they're not in action or anything, they're all tied down with wire ropes, so as they can't move or anything like that. And they were all tied down. Some still had bombs underneath the wings, which they should have taken down and put back in the magazines, but anyway, they didn't get time. But once we left Japan and that, we run into this the typhoon, and the waves. It's hard to explain. They probably some of them were half a mile apart, but they were mighty waves. The ship would go in. You couldn't. If a ship went into a wave like that, it actually could break in half, because if it's up on there's a ship on both sides of it, so they go in sideways, and the ship rolls like this, like that. So, and I don't think I got sick, but it was just that it was just a slow roll from side to side, and it never stopped. And the captain was just trying to keep it the ship moving. It was only very slow.
And what damage did the ship get from the typhoon?
One of the lifeboats all got smashed. The big crane that we used on the flight deck for lifting crashes, it went over the side. Oh, it was 4 or 5 planes. They went over the side,
Right.
and all the rest that was on the top, they were all damaged by salt water, and salt water got into them. The waves were breaking up right on the top of the flight deck. After it was all over, we went back into port. We were there for another 2 weeks to get another set of planes and repair what could be done and get back out to Korea again. Even down in the boiler rooms, we had to wear overcoats because when the boilers are running, you're sucking in. You've got the big fans to keep the boilers going. You're sucking in cold air from outside, and you're standing underneath the vents when so everybody was with overcoats on down in the boiler room. There was times when there was snow on the flight deck and the planes couldn't fly. And in the morning when you got up, there was icicles hanging from everywhere. Even though there was salt water is not supposed to freeze, but icicles, freezing and that, and they were hanging there. There was people going around knocking all the icicles off the ship. That photo shows on the flight deck, somebody went around and put the Sydney name on it so he could take a photo. Everybody else took a photo of the same thing.
As a Queenslander, how did you cope with
That
that?
was the first time I've ever seen snow.
That was the first time you said.
Never seen snow. I don't want to see it again.